And everybody knows I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't womanize, I only raptorize.
Raptors, I love it.
That's a good one.
I love it,
Oh,
Nav.
man.
Welcome to Growth Untold, the podcast where we dive into thoughtful conversations and insightful discussions with world-class people, all with the aim of inspiring, educating, and empowering our listeners.
We are thrilled to have you here with us on this exciting journey to explore the diverse stories and the ideas that have the power to shape the world for the better.
Welcome to Growth Untold, the podcast. Raptors fans and NBA fans will recognize our next guest. You may know him from sitting courtside cheering on his beloved Raptors at just about every single home game, but everything that led him to taking that courtside seat is an incredible journey that represents hard work, positivity, giving back, and so much more. From escaping Anti-Sikh Riots in India to arriving in Canada and working his butt off to become the best car salesman in the country, and now giving so much back to the community, we welcome Nav Bhatia. We can't wait to dive into this incredible story. All right, Nav Bhatia in the house.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you for
Nav,
having me here.
Thanks so much for coming. You are a Toronto legend. I don't think there's a single person in Toronto that doesn't know who you are. So thank you.
I'm that popular?
I think you're that
Okay.
popular.
Undoubtedly.
Okay.
So thank you for coming. I mean, you've got a film that's being worked on. Kel Penn is going to star in it and play yourself in the
Yes.
film. And your book is also out now.
It is out in the market to be purchased.
Yes, exactly. Tell everybody what it's called and what it's about, even though we know what it's about.
Well, it's about Superfan.
Yeah, about
and
you.
It's the story of Superfan from a lot of things. You know, people think they know Superfan, but they actually not that much. This is a new sort of vision into the Superfan, which is, it's not just about basketball, because most of the people relate me as a Raptors superfan, and my story is from the beginning of the Raptors to now. But no, it's the stories which are before that. When Superfan was a young super fan, Nav Bhatia, a naughty superfan,
Yeah.
So there are some stories I've shared with that, and how I came to this beautiful country, Canada, and how the speed bumps were there.
Yeah.
And the superfan part, basketball part came about 11 years later. I migrated in 84.
Yeah, so, Superfan is the brand that you've built, but I want to take it back a little bit. I want to know a little bit about you as a child. And like you said, you immigrated to Canada in 1984, I believe it was. So I want you to tell me about you from the moment you were a kid to up till 1984, because I consider that a different chapter of your life, you coming to Canada. But tell me about pre-Canada.
After I came here in 84, it was one of the worst time in India for the Sikhs.
You're right.
And we were being massacred there, and thousands of Sikhs were massacred. There was no safe haven for Sikhs in their homes or in the temple. So that's the time when I moved with my wife to Toronto, and later on my whole family came here. But 84, everything was good. I was in the best country in the world, but finding a job was a very tough
difficult.
time. For a Sikh mechanical engineer with a turban and beard, it was very tough.
Yeah, I can imagine. So is it fair to say that you moved from India because of anti-Sikhs or Sikh persecution of Sikhs?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll leave it at that because we want everybody to go out and buy the book as well. So we'll leave it at that. Check out the book for the full, prelogue of Nav Bhatia before he moves to Toronto. So in 1984, you moved to Toronto, like you said, mechanical engineer. My dad was a satellite engineer when he moved to Toronto, so I understand that. And a lot of the times you can't get a job in what you have your degree in. So you became a car salesman.
No, I didn't.
No?
That was the good job I got. Before that, I had another job. I was a janitor, and a very good janitor. I tell you one thing, I'm still A very good cleaner. Very good cleaner.
Your wife
And
must be very happy about
I
that.
don't clean at home though.
No?
That's the rule. Okay, so don't be giving any ideas. I don't cook at home, and I don't do any
Clean.
cleaning.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
I help here and there with various other things, but I don't do that. So anyway, moving forward, I became a car salesman after that was my actual job, which again, there's a story to that also. I mean, all my friends who moved here from India at the time were the Sikhs guy. They were cutting off their hair. They thought that was a way to get a job.
Yeah.
Because nobody wanted turban or beard in an office, in an engineering job. So I did all the odd jobs, like I told you. And then one day I found myself a car salesman job at Rextel Hyundai. And I was the proudest guy, very excited to join on the very first day. And another speed bump happens in my life. And when I go there are about 10 other Caucasian salespeople, and they start making fun of me. They start calling me Packy, Towel Head, Dapper Head, and many other names. And that was my lowest time in Canada. That was the lowest moment of my life in Canada. But on that day, I prayed, and I said, God, give me the strength to be better than good if I want to survive in this environment. And Lord, behold, I sold 127 cars in 3 months, which was a record at that time, and it still is a record with Hyundai.
Those
Wow.
are like Kawhi-like numbers in the 2019 finals, by the way.
Those were big numbers.
What
Those
would you say is
massive.
an average number? What's an average in
average number is salespeople sell about 10, 12 cars a month. They're
Wow.
good. They're considered to be good. But I was very
Exceptional.
Good. I was very. Yeah, you're going to ask me something.
What's the secret?
Well, the secret is there is no actually a rocket science to this. Treat people like you want to be treated yourself. That is the secret. And that's made me sell so many cars. I had customers coming, Caucasian customer coming and saying, it was my turn to sell them, but they said, no, they don't want to buy from me. They want to buy from a Caucasian salesperson.
Wow.
And I gave them my turn. I told my manager, give them my turn, but let me deliver the car. So when they came to pick up the car, I delivered the car. They had no choice, coming on a Friday evening to pick up a car. And, I told one incident I will share with you. This guy comes to buy a car for his daughter's birthday, and he wanted to talk to another salesman. I talked to the manager. I said, let other salesmen sell him the car, but I'm going to deliver him the car. And I did deliver him the car. I came and I treated him like a silver dollar. I had the bow on the car. I had the balloon on the car. I had English cookies for him on that. And that guy became a friend of mine. The reason being, he had never seen a Sikh before. He had never dealt with a Sikh before. And you know what? Later on, he sent me a lot of customers for the cars.
Wow. So because I was going to ask you that, but I understand what you're saying now. For you, it was about the relationship that you built with these people and not about the sale, because you knew that through the relationship, you would eventually get good out of that, whatever
Yes.
it was, more
Yes.
customers, more sales, whatever it was.
And here I am today with 5 dealerships and 300 employees.
Yeah.
God is good. I'm blessed.
God is good.
But that's
Congratulations.
the theory still works today. Treat people like you want to be treated yourself.
Okay, so talk to me about that. You, of course, became the best salesman at the dealership. You went on to then go work at another dealership that was struggling, right?
Yes,
and
I
you
was.
you were appointed to bring that dealership out of the rubbish.
It was in bankruptcy.
Yeah.
And it was Mississauga Hyundai. And
Was this the
Mississauga
dealership-
Hyundai.
Was this the dealership where 8 out of 10 resigned?
No, yes, there was you're right. There was the dealership when I came there. I thought everybody knows that I'm good.
Yeah, of course.
I had a little chip on my shoulder, I was young also. And first thing I see that 8 resignation out of the 10. And, the one who stayed, he's still with me today.
Wow.
He's still with me today, Steve Wilson. But, it was amazing at the time, and we had to rebuild the team all over again with the people who were cool with the turban guy to be the general manager. But here we are moving forward now. We have 300 employees and all sort of, I think we have a UNO in our dealership.
So tell me how you got to that point. You started off at Hyundai as a car salesman. You went on to bring other locations out of the rubble. How do you get to a point, or when do you get to the point where you start owning these dealerships?
Well, the ownership at Mississauga became, all of a sudden, the dealership became number one. So Hyundai came and said, we want to give you another dealership in Kitchener. So they issued me a point in Kitchener, and the owner says, don't go, because, I'm not going to be able to run the dealership. He was a lawyer. And
I can't do it without you.
Yeah, without you. So let's be partner at both the places. So I became the partner at Kitchener and Mississauga at that time.
Wow.
From putting in the share from my future earnings.
Wow. That's amazing.
So that's the story. And then in 2003, I bought out him also. He retired. He was an older guy. And, here we are now.
You bet on yourself like Fred VanVleet.
That's right.
That's
and you
it.
have to.
Do you like all the basketball references?
I love that T-shirt he has, bet on yourself. I believe in that. Bet on yourself.
Yeah.
Be hardworking. Be loyal. Don't listen to no from anybody. Be passionate about what you do. I'm very passionate about whatever I do. Doesn't matter if I'm doing a janitorial work, or I'm doing a car sales, or I'm doing cheering on my team. Whatever I do it with a passion, or I don't do it.
Amen to that. I love that. And you know what? My dad says very similar thing as well. So that really resonates with me. And you don't come across as a guy who's results oriented. I don't think you were ever doing it to become rich or famous. You were just doing it because you wanted to do it well. It's a pride thing, an integrity thing.
You're the one of the very few who said that, because most of the people think you're doing it for the money. I never did it for the money. You do it the right way. You have a process, you have a procedure, you have an accountability. Money comes itself. Success comes itself.
Right. Yeah. I agree with that. All right. So listen, for the rest of your story, people will go out and buy the book. Make sure you check out the book. It's available on Amazon, available on Indigo here, and everybody else knows where they can get a book. Everybody knows where to buy books now. So let's switch over to, I want to talk a little bit about the Raptors, which is, of course, all our favorite team. We're all from Toronto. We all grew up here. You started off as, a season ticket holder, I believe, but it wasn't always the courtside seats.
No, it was
right?
not a courtside seat. It was lower ball seats, and I started with 2 seats. I have 13 now.
Wow.
I started with 2 seats, and then slowly I came down. I came to the courtside second row the next year, and then when Jim Basile used to own the 4 front row seats.
Right.
Blackberry.
Yeah.
And Jim was a very, very nice to me always. And, when he left the basketball season tickets, he sold it to me. And here I am with 4 of the best seats on the Raptors arena.
In the NBA, man. Those seats are hard to come by.
They are. And, I was so happy that the seats were next to because my B-row seats were also on the same side, behind Jim Basile. And I'm here. So because I wanted to make sure that I can chit-chat with the opposing coaches and players, I can taunt them, I can mess with them. That was the whole purpose for me.
Right.
And I tell you one thing, I did a lot of it, and the book will tell you some of the stories. I have picked on people like Shaq O'Neal, people like Kobe Bryant, LeBron, all these guys I picked on.
But I get the sense that they also become your friends. Like
they have. No, it's very hard for me.
Yeah.
How can I pick on somebody when somebody comes, hugs me for a minute or so, and then you can't pick on them that. But there was a time when even the owner, Mark Cuban from Dallas, I used to carry a towel and I used to carry a horn with me all the time, and I'll put it on near my seat. And Mark Cuban will take my thing and hide it till the end of the game so that I don't use that stuff. I mean, Mark will tell you that. Mark Cuban will tell you that. So there are a lot of little stories in this book.
Right.
Which you're going to enjoy. A lot of time people say, hey, what was Kobe talking to you at the end of the game? What was DeMar telling you? What was that what was Coach Popovich talking to you? Well, buy the book and see the stories. You're going to relate it to them. You're going to enjoy them.
So where did this love of basketball come from? Were you a fan of basketball before you immigrated to Toronto? Was it something that you just became a fan of? Because the Raptors were new. They were brand new. Where did this love of the sport come from?
Well, when I came in 84 and when I became a little bit settled down, I used to own a television. I used to watch some games on the basketball from like Larry Bird, Michael Jordan, Dr. J, and all those guys. And then when in 95, the Raptors came, I said, let me experiment with 2 tickets.
Right.
If not, next season I won't buy. But Lord behold, the very first game in November 95, I became the biggest fan of
You just
basketball.
got hooked.
Oh my God, addicted. And ask my wife, she thinks I'm an addict. She always says, if it was not for your addiction of the basketball, our home would have been cleared of all mortgages. We wouldn't have 4 mortgages on it. But I am an addict. And everybody knows I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't womanize. I only raptorize.
Raptors, I love it.
That's a good one.
I love it.
God.
You got to make T-shirts of that for Superfan.
okay.
All right? I raptorize. I love that.
Okay.
You've been through so many iterations of the Raptors. And we were lucky enough to, get a championship with an iteration that lasted 1 season, literally. Yeah. What has been your favorite iteration so far? Is it the DeMar DeRozan era, the Kawhi Leonard championship season? Tell me one or two of your
Vince
favorites.
Carter era was very good for me. I mean, I enjoyed that because Vince was Mr. Canada basketball. He was Mr. Basketball. He's the one who brought Raptors on the world map, who brought Canada on the world map. And
he was a showman.
He was a showman. Every night he had a different dunk. And I would go home and watch every time how the hell he did it, how did he do that dunk? And, and then he got traded. And then on that day, before that, I went to Teacher Pension Fund, who owned the Raptors. I told them not to trade him. I tried my little best with the little fan I was. I tried my best, but he was traded. I cried. And then slowly, I started to find out that it's a business.
Yeah.
When DeMar did, it was a shock to me also. Because he's an amazing kid, amazing brother of mine. His family is like my family. But then by that time, I knew that it is a business.
Right.
Now there's no sense. Just you got to move on. But for me, my friendship with Vince, he's my family. DeMar is my family. It hasn't changed.
Yeah, and you have an amazing relationship with all of these players. It
Every
sounds like
player.
Jonas Valanciunas said you were like a dad to him.
Yeah.
Right? You have a very nurturing relationship. DeMar DeRozan, I heard you got him a car when he was struggling as a
No. He was
player?
never struggling. He came new, and Brian Colangelo, the president at the time and general manager, called me. He says, hey, young kid is in town. He's 19 years old. He's from USC. He's a Trojan, and his girlfriend is coming. So can you help them with a car till they get their own car? So DeMar, I went to see DeMar, and he says, sir, Mr. Bhatia, I need a car, and can you help me out with a vehicle? And I'm going to have my car come from LA. And some kind of a car. That was his first season. I said, sure. Next morning, I went to his home and I parked a Range Rover on his driveway. And he was like a young kid who has when you give a gift to a kid on a Christmas, he was that kid.
Wow.
And 4 or 5 months later, his car came in and he says, I want to return the car. And so I went to pick up the car and he says, what do I owe you? I said, DeMar, you owe me a hug. And he hugged me. And since then, that hug is so popular. Every game, doesn't matter if it's with San Antonio or Chicago, he gives me a hug. Big hug. When he was in the Raptors also, that is our signature hug.
Yeah.
And sometimes the hug is so long that people start writing on the log, what's going on?
Yeah.
But that's my boy, that's my little brother.
That's amazing.
So that's how the relationship with Jonas Valanciunas also the same thing. I was with Canada basketball in Philippines, and we won the championship. And for one game, for Lithuania he played. He was the MVP. And guess what? He brought me his MVP trophy and said, "This is yours." I still have that with me here in my foundation. He left that with me. He says, "No, this is for you."
That's incredible.
When he became the player of the week, rookie of the, that trophy is with me too. He said, "This belongs to you." So this is the relationship I have. I love the ballers. And they're young people. I want to make sure. I have another kid now by the name of Grady Dick, he's like my son, 19 years old. He was in a dump a few weeks ago, and I had a chat with him. I said, "You got to call me at 11 o'clock if you want to shoot 300 or 400 three-pointers. I'll be there for you."
Wow.
Because I remember when DeMar had a bad game, he would come. DeMar was my neighbor in Mississauga. So whenever he had a bad game, he would come back to the arena, to the OVO practice facility and shoot for 2-3 hours. So I told him, and look, now he's coming along pretty good.
Yeah.
He's having almost 15 to 20 points every game now.
Oh,
so that's good. I'm proud of that.
Yeah. He's doing well. These young kids are doing well. What do you think of Scotty? What do you think of Scotty Barnes? I personally think he could really be the face of the NBA, even though I live in the States now, and any American you tell that, they laugh at you. They're like, he'll never be that. But I do think he could be the face of the NBA.
Well,
what do you think about him?
Well, he's a good player. He needs to mature. Okay, he needs to mature, but he has the talent.
Yeah.
But there are players like Shea. Look at Shea. Golden boy all around.
Also another Canadian, yeah.
Another Canadian, But this one is Scott. Scott is American.
From Florida.
But he's an amazing guy. But I think if he puts his heart and soul into it, he'll be a good he'll become a leader. But in order to leader, you have to set up an example. So that's why I say he has to mature, but as a player, he has everything it needs. But he has to still be consistent and control it. I mean, first time in 77 years or whatever it is, the first time a player is having all those stats, what Scotty Barnes is having it after the All-Star.
Yeah, something like, I don't know, 25, 10, and
10 and blocks and all that.
Yeah.
Assist and blocks and all that, So that's amazing.
Yeah.
He had triple-double plus 5 blocks. That's amazing. He had he's amazing. But he has to just mature. And I think he will. He's very young.
Yeah, he's a young kid.
He's a young kid.
Yeah.
So I want to switch gears here and just talk about, two of your biggest passions is sales and philanthropy and basketball. So three things that you're passionate about, right? I want to talk about philanthropy a bit. So I heard, you're very involved with your own foundation of giving back, of helping youth through the power of the sports. So just walk us through some of the stuff that you're doing there.
Well, let me tell you, I was blessed to have a good manager. About 9 years ago. I was the Raptors superfan anyway. I was popular, but my manager, Rinku Ghai, approached me and told me that, you have everything in life now. What else? I said, I want to inspire the kids. He said, that's what I wanted to hear. And he started working on the foundation. And it was a 10-year program, but we have been achieving it 4 or 5 years earlier. We are the grand ambassador for World Vision, a Christian organization where we are helping the girls to stay in school, to finish their school education and join college because there's no washrooms in the schools. So we work with World Vision. We fund the washroom program. Then we do the camps. Every year we are doing 915 kids, 305 every city. In Toronto or in Victoria or in Vancouver, we inspire the kids. We make them feel like an NBA or WNBA player for a day. Not necessarily they're going to be an NBA professional player, but this gives them the discipline and gives them the hope to continue playing. And when you are in the sports, continue playing, it keeps you away from the negative energy, negative things. So we do that. Plus, we just started 2 years ago to work with the hijabi girls, Muslim girls. Mm-hmm. We started a league for them. because their parents and their families and husbands want them in a very strict environment. We said, why don't you want to play? But they want to play basketball. I said, let me finance it, let me fund it. And we opened up a league, and they play. We have women coaches, we have a women referees, and they just enjoy themselves. So, because basketball is loved by everybody.
Yeah.
So we give them their space the way they want it, and they get it done. So we are doing a lot of little things which are, which are positive for the kids. And I believe if you give a hope and inspire a kid, that's good enough to give him the steps to follow the success later on.
So Nav, you've been talking about how you view DeMar and the rookies that come in, and you're saying they're young kids, and obviously with the Superfan Foundation, you have an adopted daughter as well.
Yes, I do.
So there's this passion that I feel for you.
I don't know if I have an adopted daughter or she has an adopted father, man. She runs me. So I don't know about that. I think you have to correct your sentence.
Okay, all right. She has an adopted father. But
Yeah.
what I mean to say is you have this
Yeah.
passion when it comes to kids
Yes,
and youth.
it does. I come from a very poor. I've seen a lot of poverty. Not that I was poor, but I've seen a lot of poor areas. I have seen people going into the dump where you dump the trash and finding the food there. So that's why in my mind, I never waste food. Sometime maybe people will say, oh, he's taking, but the theory is I don't want to waste food. Then when I was young, I saw these little girls in India with the dowry thing, which I'm ashamed of. But they used to throw, when their daughter was born, they will throw them out in a garbage bag or a grocery bag to die. And I said at that time, got to do something. And I will do whatever I can do myself. And that's what I did. And you know what? She's my blessings. And she's my lucky charm. She has given me so much happiness that I cannot imagine. I cannot imagine. I think my staying young, my staying healthy, my smiling all the time is all the love she's been giving me on a daily, everyday basis for the last 30 years.
That's very sweet. And speaking of 30 years, you look incredible for 72. You're 72 years old, and you have so much energy. I mean, the way you're dressed, the way you came in, I mean, you have the energy of like a 20-year-old, not a 70-year-old. What are some of the things you do in your life to maintain that energy? Is it just because you live life passionately and do things you're passionate about, or are there things you do to keep up this youthfulness?
That's a very touching question and a personal question, but I'm going to answer to you. I'm not a religious person, but I believe in Almighty. I pray daily few times. Wherever I am, I have to pray. Because without His blessings, nothing happens. And secondly, I don't drink. I don't smoke. I don't womanize. My only addiction is raptorizing. And my wife, because I miss a lot of my wife's birthdays and wedding anniversaries because they conflict with the basketball game, she's not a big fan of mine.
Right.
Okay? But I'm still married, and I am very thankful to her and my daughter, because without their sacrifice, without their support, I wouldn't be sitting here doing an interview as a super fan with you. So I am very thankful to them. And they understand the value of being a super fan with the fandom which has given us, that we have been able to do charitable things. We have been able to, there are some kids now who will meet us and say, I changed my life because of you. I'm wearing a turban now because of you. I'm very secure now. I have a self-confidence. So that makes you feel good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a good segue to, and I know we're running out of time here, but just regarding your turban, and we saw a quote recently, and it was very inspiring. Mm-hmm. You made a promise as a kid to your mom you would never remove your turban. Today it's in the Hall of Fame.
Yes.
Today it's in the Hall of Fame. and embrace what makes you different. It is your superpower.
Yeah.
This is the crown I wear each day. Thank you, Mom. Those were very powerful words. Can you just elaborate more about that?
Yeah, I will. When I was 16 years old, when I was ready to go to college, usually youngsters change, when they go to the college with their freedom they get and all that. So my mother was a very disciplinary lady, and she called me, she sat me, and she says, and I was already, I said I've done something wrong because I was scared. We were scared of her.
Yeah, I was scared of your parents.
At that time.
In a good way, in a respectful
way. In a
way.
good, respectful way. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So she says, I don't want you to drink, I don't want you to smoke, and I don't want to cut your hair. Whatever matters. I said, yes. I just wanted to get out of there, So I said, yes. But you know what? 55 years later, 57 years later, I'm still keeping those words. And I kept the promise. And this book is a salute to her for that.
So does your turban represent to you discipline, keeping your word, keeping authentic and true to who you are?
Yes. Yes, you don't have to change. And actually, nobody has to change. If you are wearing a hijab, wear your hijab. Be yourself. Don't be, scared. Don't be try to be somebody else. Be yourself. And you will be successful. There is nothing that you have to change in order to be successful. No, be yourself. Work hard. Be honest. Treat people like you want to be treated yourself. That's all you need.
Now, if I want to be respectful of your time, because I know you're going around and doing an amazing book tour, and I'll be there tonight. I'm looking forward to coming to Indigo.
At the event, I think you will feel the vibe there. There are going to be some. You have asked me a lot of basketball thing. I think you're in for a surprise from basketball point of view too.
Okay, all right. I'm looking forward.
Wait.
I'm looking forward to it. But the last thing I want to close on is, look, I immigrated to Toronto when I was 3 years old from Egypt, and I experienced a little bit of prejudice. I didn't have a target on my back like I'm sure you did with your turban.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming you went through life, people thinking you're Muslim, not even knowing.
You got it.
Yeah, and people not even knowing, right, what it represents to you. How do you overcome, or how did you overcome those things? Because I think Canada's getting better, but back in the 80s, back in the 90s when we immigrated, it wasn't as welcoming as it is now, and people weren't as understanding. Just because of social media and the internet, people understand now. How do you overcome those trials and tribulations and forgive? I think that's the biggest thing, because I can see you a lot of forgiveness.
Forgiveness is, but also I think I'm going to say something which maybe some immigrant people might not like it, but when we come to this country, we should be open-minded also. We shouldn't be, if we are Indian, we don't need to be just in Malton. We need to be just in our own Indian bazaar. No, do that. But make sure, if you are living in a neighborhood where your next door neighbor is a Chinese or a Jamaican or a Caucasian guy, invite him or her, invite him. Share your culture with them. Share your culture with them, and let you share their culture. Go out to their place also with open-minded. And be respectful for everybody. Like I said, treat everybody like you want to be treated yourself is the key word in my life theory. And I'm going to continue doing that. And I think if people, the new immigrants, they are too much in their own neighborhood and all
Circle,
that. In their own circle, in their own tribe. If I wouldn't have left my tribe in Malton and gone out and open to other things, you think I would be sitting here with you today? No. That's what everybody has to do.
Yeah.
I've seen Chinese people only with Chinese. No, don't do that. Mix it up. We are all beautiful. God has made everybody beautiful. And all our cultures are rich. Let's intermix it and enjoy each other. And that will show you the respect for other people.
Well said. Listen, I grew up watching the Raptors, and they would always show you sitting there courtside. And you were a great inspiration to me as well, because you didn't see a lot of brown people, sitting that close to the basketball court. And I think you've shown people that, you can, no matter what you look like, don't be afraid of who you are. Don't be afraid of your culture. Go out there, put yourself out there, because I know you did that. You
I
put
did
yourself
that.
out there.
And I'm very visible.
Exactly.
I'm visible from miles away,
Exactly.
And, and now the thing is, if you see Philadelphia game, there are few Sikhs guys who are coming there with the turbans.
That's because of you. That's
if you go
because of
to
you.
Sacramento,
man, yeah.
there are few guys coming for that. And that's good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let the people, see each other. Let's love each other.
You've inspired people to be who they are and to put themselves out there. So I want to thank you for that. You're a Toronto legend.
Thank you.
And I'm honored to be sitting here with you today. And congratulations on the whole Superfan brand, the film. I'm very, very excited to see Cal Penn play you. That's
Yes.
going to be very exciting. And I'm excited
He ain't going to be that good looking as me, but it's okay.
He'll try,
With a
he'll
little
try.
bit makeup, he might start looking close to it.
Hollywood's got some tricks.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
He's
Don't
told
worry.
me that. He
Yeah.
said, now I have some tricks.
Yeah.
But I'm going to be doing such a good acting that we are walking on the Oscar together.
Exactly.
Yes.
And
So
I,
that's fine.
I believe it. You'll
Yeah,
put
he's
some,
good.
You'll
He's
put some
good.
more hardware
He's
in
very good.
in your
He's very
room
good.
there.
No, thank you very much. And I thank you for having me here. And we will see you at the event. And one thing in the end, like you said, you told the whole world that I'm an old man, 72 years old, but keep me in your prayers.
Absolutely.
Well,
We
Thank you.
will. Thank you,
very
Nav.
much.
Thanks for tuning in and listening. Please subscribe, share, and join the journey of growth untold. Don't miss a single nugget. Hit that follow button now on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and Instagram.